Hey, Amie,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word. That is your homework assignment. If you like what you're listening to, if you like what you're watching, tell other people, tell your friends, have them join the party. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Give us that thumbs up, hit that notification button, give us comments, leave us comments. We love engaging with you. We love your guys' comments. That's why we have a comment corner. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. And a pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. Amie, ¿cómo estás?
I feel like I haven't seen you in forever, and it's literally just been a week.
All right, I'm going to do this always and forever because you know what I realized is not only do we talk Doyers, we talk baseball on this show. You guys know we love movies. We love movies, B movies, but it seems like the musical element of the show has now become a fixture in the show. I think.
For better or worse, whether you guys want to hear it or not, you're gonna get it. So,
How was your weekend, Amie?
it was good. I will say I missed you on Thursday. I do not take lightly your beginning of show duties, and you pull it off very nicely. And having to do that by myself and try to figure out like I can't even say give me that beat because who am I gonna say it to?
I have to admit, I missed the "Give Me That Beat." I think it would have been awesome if you would have said "Give me that beat" to yourself. You could have been like schizophrenic, Amie. You know,
If we hadn't have had a guest on there that we were
why are
trying
you
to
shy? Why
interview,
were you embarrassed? Were you
I thought
embarrassed?
about doing like my like when I used to be an interpreter and you like roll shift and it's like, "Give me that beat." And then like set it up, but no, it's not gonna work if I say, "Hey, Amy." Yeah, Amy, that's creepy.
Well, I think it would have worked. I mean, that would have been beautiful.
I don't think it would've, but, I'm glad you're back.
All right. Well, speaking of that, all right. I want to start off with the comments corner. Are you okay if we do
Go
that with the
for it.
comments corner?
Yes,
So, what I want to start with first is the episode that our last episode, when where Amie interviewed Melissa Lutke. I just want to give you your flowers, Amie. I thought you nailed that interview, and for those of you who haven't listened to that episode, you haven't seen that episode, I strongly encourage that you do so because from the comments corner, everybody, I mean, they really loved it. They found it to be really informative. And I just think you killed that interview. The Dave Kingman story, I thought, while there's certain tragedy to what Melissa had to go through, at the same time, I found that story very entertaining, especially when she said that she, was chewing the tobacco, and Kingman's waiting for something to happen, and she keeps chewing, and nothing's happening, and he gives up. But
the fact that she had the wherewithal to grab I don't know that I would have thought that quickly on the spot, like, "Alright, I know not to swallow it. I know I need to spit in something." And, like, this gal just grabbed a cup, did her interview, and kept going, like, my gosh.
yeah, so again, I had a prior family commitment, so that's why I was not able to be a part of that show. But let us know, guys, if you guys want us to interview that. She was our first guest. She was the first time that we had a guest on the show. Let us know if you liked that type of program. If you want us to continue interviewing, I would like to find interesting people to interview. I don't mean just bring anybody. I thought Melissa has a fascinating story, and it was a wonderful, as Amie likes to say it, herstory lesson. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did.
Uh,
I it just even just hearing, a different time, but how that impacts us now. I think the only thing I would say in if we can do interviews going forward, like, understand our reach, guys. Like
Yeah, if you guys start, throwing in, "Hey, get Mookie on the show," like that's I don't know how realistic that's gonna be. But I wanted to give you your flowers because I really enjoyed that interview. And as I said, if you guys haven't listened to it, you haven't watched it yet, please go back. You killed it. You killed
Thank
it.
you. Oh, thanks. And she's a spitfire. So just get like I could talk to her for hours. We realized the time much like what usually happens on this show with me and Juan and it's like, "Oh my gosh, this much time has passed." Like we were just it felt like chatting, much like it feels like talking with you when we do our shows. So, it was just an extension of that.
Yeah, so I really appreciate all the comments on that episode. We're going to be talking about the winter meetings. They're officially over, so we're going to be talking about the aftermath. And for those of you guys listening on the audio portion, make sure you go back to the YouTube so you can see Amie is wearing a Jaws. It's not a sweater; it's a Jaws Christmas T-shirt. Is
Yeah,
that what?
it's in the fashion of the ugly Christmas sweaters, but I felt like winter meetings were getting festive. I might as well put on my Jaws ugly sweater shirt, and it does at the bottom, you can't see it, but it says "da-dum, da-dum, da-dum."
It's
So,
beautiful. It's
thank you.
beautiful.
I'll have to bust out my Dodgers one for our next episodes.
We're going to get into the aftermath of the winter meetings, but there is a comment that I want to address from one of our viewers from not the Melissa Ludke episode, but the prior episode that I think might lead us into the winter meetings, Amie. And that is when we were talking about money, and I believe some of our listeners really liked how you called it the "Show Me the Money" episode.
And much like Shohei as well, because we gotta have that play on
I
Shohei.
see what you did there. I see what you did there. You are good. You are very good. Um, there was Oscar made a comment, and I think we initially laughed it off. But I will say this: I don't think his comment is out of bounds or out there. But and I don't think he was being serious when he said that, but Oscar put it out there and said, "What if the Guggenheim Group is part of this Ponzi scheme, because they have so much money and the way they're handling everything with the deferrals?" I would like to think, but I can be proven wrong, and we have been proven wrong in past history. I would like to think that Major League Baseball vetted this group well enough to know that they had to make sure that this group had money, especially on what happened with the Frank McCourt situation. But then again, there is the Frank McCourt situation that is exhibit A as to why all of a sudden ownership groups can go belly up. And that was Major League Baseball allowed Frank McCourt to buy the Dodgers, and he never had the money to begin with. He bought the team. Yes, he put up his parking lots as collateral, but he didn't have the liquidity to go ahead and run this team.
I have a
Uh,
Joni Mitchell song running through my head now.
do it, do it, do
I
it, sing
can't
it.
I can't I can't think of all the words, so it's just I'm not gonna hit the notes right.
So while there's a part of me that think there's no way. I mean, the Guggenheim Group is good at this. But there is a little seed. I will leave the door ajar. How many times have
Oh,
we heard
no.
that with Andrew Friedman and all that stuff? That there's a slight, or Dave Roberts was the one that always used like the door is slightly opened on there to believe. But let me tell you, Oscar, if your nightmare scenario is true, and this Guggenheim thing is a giant Ponzi scheme, and then all of a sudden all this deck of cards falls down, that is going to be a disaster for Major League Baseball.
I feel like I should go get my tinfoil hat. However, I will say on behalf of the MLB, I wouldn't put it past them not to necessarily vet. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't put that on the MLB because the MLB, it's certain people, right?
Well, no,
But
it is the MLB. It is their job because
well,
when the
but
Dodgers were for
I don't wanna
sale.
say not all people in the MLB though. I don't wanna put that on
Oh, yeah,
all of
that's true.
them.
Yeah.
But I would say if it happened because it's the MLB, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, look, like I said, the likelihood of that being true, I think, is very, and I know if anybody finds this, they're going to clip it and say exactly what you
Oh
said.
my
Look at
god.
this tinfoil hat and all that stuff. This is answering,
Anything is possible, and when we
yeah.
get into some of our other topics later, I think because of the lack of punishment or penalties, I think it does leave the door open of like, okay, how much goes into vetting or actually follow through on some of these things? Or is it just, we're just saying it?
I thought it was an interesting comment that Oscar said, and that's why we're going to bring it up with some of the topics that we're going to talk about today.
See, and I heard the opposite recently. I can't remember who I was talking to, so I apologize if I don't exactly remember. It might have been at the brewery this weekend, honestly. Oh, I think it was. I was talking with one of the guys there, and they were saying, what if Magic Johnson is in on buying the Angels or like getting, his foot in the door there because he has his foot in so many LA teams. And my initial thought was, well, why would he, like, that's a crosstown rival, but why would you not if you're in it for the money and not necessarily the competitiveness? Like, you have people who are throwing those ideas around too.
I mean, look, there is a possibility. I mean, if he can make more money with them, I can see him doing it. But for me, why would you want to leave the Dodgers? You're like,
Not saying that he would leave the Dodgers,
I
saying
don't
he
think he
would.
could have ownership in both.
I'm not vetting the idea, but as we're talking about like things that people are floating around, it's just different. Like,
we're talking all the tinfoil hat conversation. Is that what you're saying?
I wish I would have known, because I would have made a tinfoil hat and had that ready, but here we are.
Well, I mean, that comment leads me to this. The aftermath, what we learned from the winter meetings, Amie, is this. The Metropolitans are bad for baseball and they're ruining baseball, right? That's
Oh yeah,
the lesson.
we don't scream that for other teams. Are you serious?
But that's the lesson, right? The Metropolitans are bad. So look, there's a lot of stuff that happened during the winter meetings that I want to address, but I think we have to start with Juan Soto. Your thoughts on the Juan Soto deal?
Well, are you hearing? I mean, everybody's saying it's an overpay, and he did have his press conference where money was not addressed, obviously, but it more like building a dynasty. For me, even with the opt outs after the fifth year, 15 years, 765 million, to me, it's a little too rich for my blood. I know people think that he is a great batter. He is. He's great at the plate. Subpar defensiveness. To me, it's like you're paying 765 million for, basically a DH that can play in the outfield. And for me, like, I had concerns, as we know, about Shohei for that, especially coming off of surgery. And then with a large contract like that, some of those were assuaged because we did do the deferrals. His contract doesn't have any deferrals built into it.
This is okay. Oh, by the way, we're going to start a new drinking game, Siamese vodka. Thank you for the suggestion. Apparently, I say look a lot on this show. There's probably a lot of words that I repeat on this show.
Everybody has their words and their tells.
So anytime I say look on this show, you guys drink, especially if you listen or watch or drink while you listen or watch on this show. Anytime I say look, you go ahead and you drink. This is, to me, the impact of the unicorn. This is the impact of Shohei. And I would never, before Shohei, I would never look at a player signing in this way. But Shohei has taught me that. When I saw the Soto deal, how much it was for, and there is, with incentives, there is a chance that this contract could be up to $800 million. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And he had what was his signing bonus? 75 million.
And he has an opt out after 3 years. So that's where, if he chooses to stay in, he gets more per year. And
3 years? I thought it was 5 years.
Was it 5? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I thought it was at 3.
You know what? I grabbed this the day it came out, so who knows? Maybe it's been updated since then. I saw opt out at the 5th year in 2029, and then he can receive a $4 million raise per season from 51 million to 55 million for the remainder of the contract.
No, I think you are correct. It was after 5 years. And so the thing is,
I just want to make sure Jose Ayala cannot grab us.
I know Jose Ayala is ready to jump on.
You know what? We need more umpires like Jose Ayala.
So what would happen is, if he stays with the Metropolitans, his per average goes up, and that's why the contract, if he stays, it could be worth up to $800 million if he stays the full 15 years. The first thing I thought of when I saw that, Amie, was there's no way the Metropolitans are making their money back. That's how I think now. And it's because of the unicorn, because the reports that the Dodgers made $700 million off of Shohei in this year alone. And so that's the way I look at it. for me, there was nobody was worth $700 million, right? Except for the unicorn. And that's because the unicorn can generate that kind of capital, right?
He can generate it. He is a two-way player, and even with my caution because of the post-surgery in both cases, my concern was, let's say the surgery didn't work and he is just a glorified DH. Now you're kind of in that position with Juan Soto, who also plays in the outfield. I'm sure at that point we would have put Shohei on the field somewhere for what we're paying him. The throwing program that he's in, obviously, he's progressing, so he is the two-way player that we did pay for, but even then, it was just like, that's a lot of money for a lot of years.
But like the unicorn is his own economy. I know we've had this
Mhm.
conversation already before, but
Sponsorships,
exactly, you have
traveling.
TV.
Mhm.
Juan Soto doesn't bring all that other stuff. So I'm looking at it strictly as a businessman in terms of an investment. I look at how much money they offered Juan Soto. Yes, go ahead.
Businessman. Tie or bow tie?
Tie. Tie.
Okay. I'm trying to get the picture. Go.
Yeah, I can't do a bow tie. I just can't.
Okay.
If I did a bow tie, it would probably be a clip on. I just
Okay.
my
Clip-on bow tie, briefcase. Go.
exactly. But that's this is where the economics of Major League Baseball have come in now because of the unicorn. And so once I got over the number, again going into that, I just never thought he would go that high. And I know that people sit there and go, well, he's not even the best player in Major League Baseball and he's making the most money. Look, the unicorn still has the highest per average. The only reason why it's more money than Shohei is because it's more years
Mhm.
than Shohei.
And you know what? Good for him. Like you said, if you can get paid that much money, if somebody's gonna pay you that, good for you. Like, he took the bag and he ran with it. Good for him. And I honestly, when I saw it, I was so relieved that we didn't get him. So it was just
I was just never convinced that it was serious. And I want to go into, like, did you see his comments today? He spoke to the media today.
that was the whole thing about, like, he didn't mention money, but he came over to start a dynasty.
Exactly.
A
So
dynasty, if you will.
when he made the comment that the reason why he chose the Mets over the Yankees is because the Mets give him a better chance to win, I was like, shots fired, man. Because I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you are in the same league as the Dodgers. I don't know if the Metropolitans give you the best. And as someone said, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I don't want to. I apologize for not giving you credit. I just don't remember who said this on Twitter, but someone had said Soto was better off not even saying anything like that, because when you make a comment like the Mets are in a better position to win than the Yankees, like, to me, I was like, bro, but that's not true. And it really does. It's like there's nothing wrong with saying this is about money. I came here because this is the team. And somehow there is this shame associated
But if
with
he
people
does
making
say it
decisions based on money. And
but if
look,
he does say it, he's gonna get completely eviscerated by, social media or, he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. There's no way to win in this situation.
exactly. What this to me, once you get past the number, what this is about for me was clearly the Metropolitans owner, Cohen. That's who he wanted. And it didn't matter what it cost, he was going to get his guy. So if the price get, going up, he was completely fine. Now, there is a possibility that in the end, this deal is going to look bad. It's going to look bad because of the fact, like, what if he gets injured? What if he falls off the cliff? And he has control in this is a 15. So there is a possibility that at the end, I know people were already showing pictures of El Tio Albert Pujols in an Angels uniform, saying, this is what Juan Soto is going to look like. And it's like, hey guys, when you make those comments, just know that Mookie also has a very long-term deal with the Dodgers. We don't know what the unicorn's going to look like at the end of that deal. So there is a chance that this Soto deal may end up not only being bad, but may end up hindering the Metropolitans when it comes out to filling out a rest of a roster
Are
to
you
try.
saying, like, if he doesn't opt out, like, if he decides to ride the whole
Like, if
15
he
years?
decides that, that's why for me, I just look, if he's being genuine and he really believes that the Metropolitans give him a better chance to win a World Series than the Yankees, then I just will disagree with him with that because of the fact that you got to deal with the Dodgers, and you're going to have to deal with the Dodgers not just this year but for a while.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also reports out that, and I don't know how much they've been corroborated, but you're hearing it from different media sources that the treatment of his family in the stadium and some of his personal staff, you don't know if that went into it. Like, if you're not going to treat the people close to me, the way that they deserve to be treated, maybe that's part of the change too. Sometimes it's not just money. Maybe he wants a change of pace. Maybe however he fit on the Yankees, that was good for this past year, but maybe he wants to be the Shohei of his team, and this gives him the opportunity. Not saying that he is on par with the unicorn, just saying he wants to be that face, the Mike Trout of the team, or whatever.
And I understand that there may be other factors involved in that, and I don't. I'm trying to do my best to not deal with speculation because those reports that you are mentioning have not been confirmed. I mean, at this point,
Correct.
if it
No
doesn't come
source.
out of his mouth, I don't
Mhm.
know. And I don't think it helps the situation to go ahead and spread. So that's why I really just want to focus on what he it came out of his mouth. And
Right.
in
I just
terms
use
of
that
baseball,
as an illustration, though, that we don't know what personal choices went into it outside it, because it's not just a contract. We've talked about that before. It could be, I want to have the security of a long-term contract and know I'm going to stay somewhere and I don't have to ride out free agency again. So it just, again, those are uncorroborated sources, but I use that as an illustration of, you don't know what's going on in somebody's personal life, even, that's helping to drive some of those situations.
exactly. Now, I thought that Soto was the domino that once he went down, that it was going to go ahead and trigger everything. So obviously, once Soto is off the market, all eyes in terms of the Dodgers turn to Teoscar Hernandez. Right now, I have heard rumors, a 3-year deal in the $70 million range. I think the issue now that's going to happen, and this probably has been happening, is now that the Yankees lost Soto, there are a lot of suitors for Teoscar Hernandez. So there are people, and I'm hearing conflicting reports. Maybe there are teams that are going to be willing to overpay to get Teoscar out of desperation. But then I'm also hearing other teams being like, well, if Teoscar's raising his price now that Soto's gone, maybe we can go ahead and get a cheaper option. And so maybe that, I think the way the Dodgers are dealing with this might be the best way, playing the long game. I think this is, again, the Dodgers don't like to make bad deals. So I don't see that the Dodgers would overpay to keep Teoscar. What are your thoughts on the Teoscar situation, Amy?
I mean, I guess that kind of goes with, we're hearing a lot of speculation back and forth on that too. For me, I think that if we're talking just Dodgers, I think hopefully they can come to an agreement, because we saw he was willing to take a little bit of a pay cut to come here last year. And I think that also goes back into players making decisions for their best interest. Does he want the longer term deal and go play somewhere else, but you don't have maybe as big of an opportunity to hit the postseason again? Or do you take a couple, not a couple, I'm being glib, but, like, do you take a couple million less and come back to the team that you really want to come back to, play with the guys that you know and love, and know you're probably going to make it to the postseason? Everybody's going to have a different answer to that. For me, because it's in such the millions range, and I think you can kind of ride that out for a long time in your lifetime. For me, I might take less on that, on that deal, to play with the team that I know is gonna get me where I wanna go. Somebody else might look at that and be like, "Nope, I want the Soto deal." It's kinda iffy. Maybe the Mets will, start to rebuild and they'll make it. Maybe they won't, but, the Dodgers are kind of a sure thing in that respect. I don't know. What would you do with it?
For me, the two priorities that are left, I mean, we're going to discuss some of the other signings that the Dodgers did during the winter meetings, but for me, the two priorities were Teoscar and Walker Buehler. Those are the ones that I hope the Dodgers get those deals done. And honestly, because for me, it's Walker Buehler in the postseason. I don't see anybody I mean, Yamamoto was good in the postseason, but for me, Walker Buehler consistently shows that he shows up in the postseason. And that's what I want, because you are in an era where you want to collect rings, right? You want to win as many World Series as you can. And I feel like Walker Buehler will help you do that. Teoscar Hernandez is a guy who really came up big in big pressure situations, to the point where I know a lot of people during the regular season said the Dodgers have never had a guy like that who responds to the pressure and doesn't cave to it. I would definitely, unless the Dodgers can pull a rabbit out of their hat and pull a trade, and this is why I don't think it's likely, because I don't believe that Andrew Friedman subscribes to trades. I mean, he'll do them out of necessity, but if he can get, just pay money for somebody, I think that's the way to go. But again,
If you were Teoscar, what would you do? Just you personally.
well, look, and there we go. Drink, everybody. He's 32 years old. He's
Mhm.
there. This is more than likely going to be his last payday.
Mhm.
So this is, if you are someone, I would take the less money to play for the Dodgers, because I'm happy there. I know that I'm going to be in the playoffs every year, and I have a chance to win the World Series every year. I
Mhm.
would do that, but I'm also a guy who's poor and knows that, hey, I can live on $1 million, $2 million. I don't need, But like you said about Juan Soto, you don't know Teoscar's situation, right? Because Teoscar really has never had a huge payday, right? Now, yeah, people go, "What are you talking about, Juan? I mean, $20 million. That's a huge payday," and that's what I'm saying. In the end, Teoscar may be a guy that is just like, this is enough. This is
Mhm.
enough. I mean, Jared Weaver, back when he was on the Angels, he always made the comment. It was like, how much, when he stayed with the Angels for a contract that people believed was below market value. And everybody's like, dude, what is Jared Weaver thinking? And Jared Weaver was just like, well, how much money do you need? So
Mhm.
if Teoscar is that kind of guy, I think he stays there. Now, at the same time, Amy, I don't want you to take advantage of me because of that. Like, if I'm giving you a discount, don't insult me either. So I think
Right.
that's really also what's going to depend with the Dodgers. Like, don't lowball him either. You know, give him a fair, like, to
Let's
me,
not insult him so that he's like, "Nope, I'm done."
exactly. So when I hear like 3 years between 70 to 75 million, uh, that sounds about right to me. But if the Yankees, if the Red Sox, if those other teams that are rumored to be out there are truly desperate and they feel pressure, they may overpay for him. But look, he's 32 years old. Federico's in his 30s, approaching his mid 30s. Mookie's in his early 30s, approaching his mid 30s. What you don't want is all of a sudden you have an old team on your hands, because they all age. I'm telling you, Amy, that
Baseball
clip.
years always make me laugh because 'cause we're like, "Oh my god, they're so old," and they're, like, easily 10 or more years younger than us.
I mean, look back at the year that Federico had, right? Like,
Dude, he
Federico to
just
me,
had surgery last week. What did they say? He had, debridement and removal of loose bodies
I, I,
from
I,
that ankle, and I'm just like, "Ugh."
look, I'm telling you, what he put himself through in the postseason, I would not be surprised if that affects him at the beginning of the start of next year. But what I am saying is, if you look at his season last year, he had a solid season, but he's Federico Freeman.
Mhm.
The bar is much higher. So remember in those conversations earlier in the season when everybody's just like, what's wrong with Federico? Because he wasn't hitting 300. Like, he's
He's
hitting
getting
280.
older. That's
Well,
gonna
and
happen.
and that's my concern, right? And that's what Andrew Friedman has to look at his roster. Do I want a bunch of guys approaching their mid 30s at the same time what is that going to do to my team? I think what the Dodgers do really well is they have that nice blend of veterans and young guys. So I what would you do? Would you take less money to stay with the Dodgers?
I would. I would, because I to your point and kind of what I was saying earlier, if at this point we're in the millions, are we talking again, let's know our worth, but I'm just going to throw numbers out. This is not what I think he's worth. But if it's like the difference between 50 million and 70 million, yeah, 20 million's a lot, but if I don't have to worry about making the postseason and I love the team and what they do, like, yeah. I'm not saying it's gonna be the 50, but I would take less years probably and less money to stay where I'm at.
And
Because we
here's
saw what happened to him in Seattle. He had a decent year, but he didn't feel right in that stadium.
yeah, that stadium I think impacted him, and it impacts a lot of players
That
in that.
impacts your stats, though. That impacts your marketability. The Dodgers picked him up because they knew what he was worth, but remember when we picked him up, people were talking about his strikeout rate, his ability to produce. He showed that when he's in a different stadium, the value that he can bring, but that does impact your overall sellability in the market.
Yeah, look, and I get that. Drink, everybody, drink. Uh, I
It's water,
get,
guys. It's water.
I get. Juan Soto is younger. Juan Soto is 26. Juan Soto has an opportunity for a big payday. But I think also one of the things about Juan Soto is he's not like he doesn't hide the fact that, hey, I want to get as much money as I can, and I don't think there's
Corey
enough.
Seager did the same thing.
Exactly. I don't think there's anything wrong for that. So in the end, if Teoscar does end up taking another deal where he does get paid more money, I can't fault him at that. And at the same time, look, if you're the Dodgers, I know a lot of people say money should not be an issue and all that stuff, but they also are just people that are like, they know how much they want to spend. Like when they go after, like, I am still amazed at how quickly the Blake Snell deal got done, right? But they clearly, that's who they wanted. They were willing to go ahead, and that seemed like an overpay. But then you see what Max Fried got from the Yankees, and now all of
Mhm.
a sudden Blake Snell's deal doesn't look bad at all. Like I know a lot of people.
8 years, 218 million.
Yeah. So I mean, I love. There was people that thought that Max Fried was going to be ending up on the Dodgers. He was at the playoff game, looking at Jack Flaherty.
Which I think is funny because they all just went to each other's games over the years in the playoffs. So, like, well, yes, he's there. I'm sure he'd want to play in his hometown if possible, but it's also like, but he's also there supporting his friend. So,
Yeah, and in the end, I think taking Blake Snell over Max Fried was probably the smart choice. Now, Max Fried is 30 years old. That's going to take him to 38, right? And now he's not a hard throwing pitcher, so Max Fried may be one who can maybe give them productivity during those 8 years. But those are all things that, like in the end, these baseball players have to go ahead and take that into account. That's going to be his last big payday, you
well,
know. And
and as a pitcher for 8 years, who's already, 30, like that's interesting.
well, look, the Dodgers to me, when you win it, you're coming off of winning the World Series. For me, you win a World Series, I think you owe it to everyone on that team. Keep the team together, bring them all back, and see if you can go ahead and win it. And it
Mhm.
seems like that's what they were doing. They re-signed Blake Trinan, 2 years, 22 million. I think that's a fair deal because even he's had some injuries the last few years. So if you can get one good year out of that 2-year deal, especially what he did for you to win that World
Well,
Series,
wasn't he paid like a million last year?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, they got him at a discount because he hadn't played for the last couple of years. So,
Yeah, so I'm glad they brought back Blake Trine, and so far I don't have any issues with the signings that the Dodgers have made. I just hope that they can get Teoscar. and Walker Buehler. Those are the two that I would really like to see.
And Kike.
I look, I find it very interesting that Geeke there I haven't heard much rumors, much interest, and it could be because the bigger names look, I've said this before. Drink. I've said this before. I am surprised at how low a number the Dodgers got him last year. I would have thought there would have been more suitors for him
Well,
because
there were, but again, he turned them all down in the hopes that the Dodgers would he wanted to sign with the Dodgers.
do we know
So,
that the other teams were offering more money?
I don't know how much they were offering, but he had multiple offers, and he was basically putting them on hold to see either what the Dodgers would offer or, if they were even if a deal was even still on the table. So,
Hey, look,
I'm
if
not
the
saying that he lowballed himself. We don't know those details, but he was holding out to hear from the Dodgers.
they are the Hernandez brothers, so perhaps
I mean,
Kike and Teoscar think alike, so maybe that is encouraging. I do think people are surprised that Teoscar still hasn't signed with a team. So I don't know what that says. I don't know if that is him like really holding out the same way Kike was like, come on, Dodgers, come through. Give
but it
me a
but
deal.
but
Make me say yes.
is it holding out though if what everybody was saying was they were waiting for Soto to be the first domino to fall, like, then it's he wasn't really holding out per se. You're just waiting for the market to settle itself, and now he's gonna, like, now people are in a better position to, like, "All right, this is our go forward." So it makes sense, like, now if it drags out another couple months, yeah, that's a problem. But in this case, like, if we hear in the next week or 2, I wouldn't be surprised, and I think in that respect, a lot of I don't know what other teams do, I'm sure they do team building and whatnot, but there's a lot of stuff that the Dodgers do that's family oriented that maybe isn't quite as public facing, but they have a lot of family days, like, after a lot of the games, they'll have the family come out on the field, and they have celebrations and whatnot, so it's not just these guys playing together all year, or maybe, some of the wives sitting together in the stands. These people are all connected. So if you've even got your kids growing up together, we see Charlie on the field, we see all the kids. We see Miguel Rojas's kids on the field. Like, that's also a big thing to think about too. And sometimes you can't put a price tag on that.
Well, last year the Dodgers did a lot of team building activities before they reported spring training. There was Mookie's bowling event, that thing where that plunge, the Chris Taylor plunge that they did on the beach. So I would think, and in the end, there was a lot said last year about how close this team was. So maybe those team building activities they did at the beginning of last year really did pay off. I would assume they would probably maybe want to do the same things this year. The Dodgers did make a signing though. They did sign an outfielder, and the minute they signed that outfielder,
Oh my gosh.
I did receive text messages saying this is Teoscar's replacement. Amy, do you want to tell us who the Dodgers signed?
I got the same messages. They signed Michael Conforto, who had spent the last 2 seasons with the Giants. So they signed him to a one year, $17 million deal with the 8.5 million signing bonus. Um, and some of it is deferred because that's what the Dodgers do. But what I got from it and some of the reports I was seeing is he's a left-handed hitter. Teoscar is a right-handed hitter. They're just covering the plate. So while they are still hedging their bets of getting Teoscar, you've also got somebody else who can play on the other, out in the outfield and play on the others or bat on the other side of the plate.
Look, I don't think Michael Conforto is Teoscar's replacement. You know who I think Michael Conforto is replacing is Jason Hayward.
Mm.
Michael Conforto is in the Jason Hayward role for this year. And if you look at his numbers, he seemed to provide a lot of power away from San Francisco, which bodes well. Look, if the
If
Dodgers
we
do
bring
this,
Theo back, do you see him in left or right field since we've got Tommy Edman in center?
well, you're going to lead me into our next
Yeah.
topic. So,
Oh, I am.
yes,
Come
good.
on,
I see what you
Juan.
did there.
Come
I see what you did
on.
there. I would still keep I would keep Teoscar in left. I would put Conforto in right and leave Tommy Edman in center because it was announced that by Brandon Gomes that Mookie is staying in the infield, and not only staying in the infield, he's playing shortstop.
Yeah,
Amy,
he
you're
will be the everyday shortstop this year, unlike last year.
all right. What do you think about that?
I'm whatever. Much like the Oscar signing when he signs, whenever that is, for however much. Like, I just watch this stuff happen because we've talked about before. We don't have any sway in any of this. Um, I just hope my hope through all of this is that he gets a break in social media, the media, etc. Of like wherever he's going to play, let the guy play. I know people are going to tear it apart. They're saying that because he's going to have the whole off season, he'll be up for the challenge, but he'll get to work on focusing on throwing, making that conversion because he's great at throwing from right field. We need to tackle that from short to first. So I don't know. Hey, if he wants to do it, I guess in this move also they're saving Gavin Lux. So that was the other thing that was announced. Edmund would be in center field, Lux would be at second base, and then you'd have Mookie at short.
Look, like I said, I like all their moves that they've made so far. I think that
Whoa.
yeah,
I'm
I th-
shocked.
I think that Michael Conforto deal is going to really surprise people. I think he can be very productive in this lineup for the Dodgers. Um, that being said, I think what is clear to me is Mookie wants to play shortstop. Like this doesn't happen unless Mookie's the one who's pushing for it. And
Well,
it,
he's
what
and he said it before, even when it was second base. He playing in the outfield, it's a lot of wear and tear on him. And I don't know if people remember, but a couple years ago, he had those hip bone spurs. I'm sure he's trying to prevent some of that stuff happening. If it is a lot of extra running for him, if he can play in the infield and save that wear and tear on his body, like, I mean, good for him.
look, drink everybody. The majority
Man,
of
I am going through
Mookie's
this water, dude.
I never realized how much I say that word. Thanks, Siamese vodka. Uh,
I'm not even going to say what mine are. You guys got to figure them out. I know what they are. I
the
say them all the
the
time, but
majority of Mookie's errors at shortstop last year were throwing errors. So
mhm.
to your point of what you said, being that he's going to have it a full off season to train to play shortstop,
They're not gonna tell him the first day of spring training, "Surprise, we're moving you to second
exactly.
base."
I'm curious if that will go ahead and make a difference, but I still feel, Amy, come June, maybe July, you're going to start because he's a very streaky player. He goes through these moments where he's just
You mean he's a baseball player? He's a
like
baseball player.
he kills it, and then he goes through a slump, right? Be prepared that you're going to hear the same questions that we heard this year, which is playing shortstop every day wearing you down? If it's going to, is this demanding?
I mean, how is it any less demanding than playing right field and just being a baseball player in general? Like, that's literally their job. The job is wear and tear on a day in, day out basis for 162 plus days out of the year. Like, and not even 162 straight because you've got the whole season to go, and that's not including spring training, postseason. I just like much like bowling, like let the guy play. We're not tearing like why are we tearing them down?
For me, it's not tearing him down. It's just I'm fascinated by the fact. I mean, this guy, first of all, he won a Gold Glove being a utility player this year. He was a Gold Glover out in right field.
Right.
And so it's just so to be that freaking talented, where it's like, dude, you are such a good outfielder, and now you're just like, I want to play shortstop.
But you don't
Like
we
of
don't
all
know
positions, shortstop. I mean, he sounds like my dad. Like my dad would get mad if he didn't get to play shortstop or hit third. And it's just like, Dad. I mean, you're a grown ass man now. But it's like he wanted to play shortstop, so maybe Mookie is going through the same thing.
well, we don't know what the motivation is. I mean, if you work for a company, sometimes people they wanna get promoted or they want a lateral move because I don't wanna keep doing the same thing day in and day out. I love what I do, but I need a change. We don't know if it's that. Like, even just to me, it is a little bit tearing down. It's overanalyzing, like, the playing, and it's like, just let the guy play the game. Let all these guys play the game. They're gonna do it to the best of their abilities. So, like, I don't understand digging into it that deeply because everybody's going to make mistakes. I mean, we see Juan Soto get signed, and instead of celebrating whatever his contract is, because he managed to sell himself for that much, good for him. Instead, now you're seeing highlight reels of every single mistake he made instead of celebrating what he does do well. And I feel like that's so pervasive in the game. We love this game, and yet a good portion of fans love to tear these players down when they're playing their hearts and souls out for everybody. And I don't understand that contradiction in the game.
Look, Drink. He wants.
Man, I don't even know why I'm playing this right now.
He wants to play shortstop. Okay, but honestly, I really don't have a problem with it. I really don't, because
And if you did,
yeah,
what's gonna happen?
This totally falls into the Dodgers' philosophy, right? And that's why I think, yeah, I don't want to say it's imperative, but this is why I feel like they should re-sign Teoscar, because they love to have their all right-handed lineup and their all left-handed lineup. So, okay, Mookie's going to play short. I don't think he's going to play short every game.
What do you do with Rojas? Because he's your shortstop. He's still got another year on his contract. I hope they don't trade him.
I can see games where they're facing a lefty, where you're going to see either Mookie at second, and you'll see, or Mookie in right field and Rojas playing shortstop. I can see that happen because they like their right-handed, left-handed lineup. And so, and the fact that you have Tommy Edman out there, and he gives you a lot of flexibility too, because when you don't have him in the outfield, you can put him in the infield.
And everybody gets to be happy that Lux is back, or the people who aren't happy about it will have to suck it up.
I'm still not convinced that he's going to be around.
He's going to be a shortstop then. If Gomes is saying Mookie,
no, I'm talking about Lux.
Sorry. Who's going to be your second baseman then? Because if Gomes is saying that Mookie is absolutely your shortstop, who are you going to plug in at second?
No, I see Lux is going to be at second, but Chris Taylor is still on this team. I know everybody wants Chris Taylor gone.
Do you think he gets traded?
He is a large salary attached to him.
Doesn't he have like 17,000 left or something like
17 million.
17 million. God, I always do that. Thank you. 17 million.
I just don't want Jose. I don't want Jose Ayala coming after you.
I knew in my head it was million.
I don't think it's going to be as easy to trade him, at least not at the beginning of the season. Maybe because I believe this is his last year, and then there's an option.
I think
so. Maybe towards the middle of the season. But again, I go back to Andrew Friedman. I don't think Andrew Friedman likes making trades. I think Andrew Friedman only makes trades if I don't want to say he's desperate, but if that's like the only way that he can make this team better.
Look, he's signed through 2025, and there's a 2026 team option.
I will say this about Chris Taylor, though. I think he's going to have a very short leash this year.
We barely saw him in the postseason.
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken.
He has a very short leash, in my opinion, because if he starts off struggling the same way he struggled last year, I don't know if you have the luxury to keep him.
Well, he averaged 202. And he brought it up in the latter half of the year, because as we saw, he wasn't even below the Mendoza line. He was below like 50% of the Mendoza line for the majority of the year. And
you hope that that'll carry over to this year, because again,
maybe they found it, whatever it was.
The Dodgers love depth, and one thing that we know about this team is there will be injuries.
Well, and he's great in left field. He's just struggling at the plate.
Look, I like everything that they've done. I really have. I will love it if they can re-sign Walker Buehler and Teoscar. I know there's rumors out there of maybe adding some more relievers like Tanner Scott. Again, trading for the windbender, or is that the correct airbender? Excuse me, the airbender Williams from the.
We're just going to create new terminology on this.
Show. From the Cerveceros, but again, and that's why it gives me pause with Gavin Lux. in terms of it's going to be a numbers crunch too with this roster, right? So there may be trades made based out of necessity,
I
depending on what the Dodgers end up doing
I just
the
don't know
rest
what
of
you
free
do at
agency.
second base if you don't have Gavin Lux. I mean, unless you are trading to bring a second baseman in. Um, I mean, he batted 251 last year, so not too shabby. Um,
No, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think your
mhm.
point is fair there. Unless, look, I don't want to talk about this because I hate mind-numbing trade talk. But do you
Here
want to
we
go in?
go.
Do you want to go into those Nolan Arenado rumors?
I haven't really given much credence to it. The only thing I really paid attention to was Max Muncy's, interview. I think it was with Foul Territory where he was
Yeah,
like, "You know what? I'll do whatever the team needs." I mean, my first thought was, do you bring in Nolan Arenado and then you put Muncy at second?
that's when you said who else could play second. That's the only other scenario. He's played second before. I'm going to
Look,
tell you, I'm
look,
not
Juan,
very
look.
comfortable.
There, I offset it for you for Siamese vodka.
I I'm not very comfortable with him playing second base, but he has played second base before.
I think he'd be better at second base than, Chris Taylor in the infield. Not my favorite. I think he bobbles the ball there a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. I feel like he is great. He climbs the walls. He saves a lot of plays, especially when they're like, up in the stands. I think he's great in that respect. But as we saw in the postseason, they were swapping him and Kike out. He's better, climbing the wall. Kike's better with like grounders. So I Muncy's played second before, and I think he did a pretty he's done a pretty good job. So, and we can count on his bat, so I would be comfortable with him at second. I mean, I obviously you don't wanna lose Lux, but if you get Arenado at that point.
Yeah, I don't get it either. The Arenado, well, I do get it in the sense I
We've
think
heard
no.
these rumors for years.
Well, but honestly, I also think it's Nolan Arenado's people that are putting it out there because I think Nolan Arenado wants to come to the Dodgers.
Was he the one that, like, Kike called out because he was using one of Kendrick's new songs, the Dodger Blue song or
Yes,
whatever?
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Now, was
exactly.
it just the song because he liked the song, or did he purposefully pick that? I don't know.
He's from the area, so I
Lake
know
Forest.
I think he's been wanting to be a Dodger for the longest time, but
Mm.
he played for the Rockies, and there's no way the Rockies were ever going to trade him to the Dodgers. And then once he got traded to the Cardinals, I mean, it's like, but I think this is all a narrative and agenda being pushed by Arenado's people. I don't know that the Dodgers necessarily want this, but to answer your question of who else could play second, I could see them if they did that scenario where they brought in Arenado. I could see Muncy being moved over to second, but I just feel that's just not it's not the way Andrew
A lot
Friedman
of
works.
a lot of different things have to fall into place and, kinda come into play for some of these situations, and I think that's where you don't like the mind-numbing trade talk. I'm just more like, "Ooh, let's see what happens." Like, I'm not big on all the hot stove stuff, but I do like once you have something concrete, I'm like, "Alright, let's see how that plays out."
Let me ask you this. This is a name
Riddle
in
me this.
this is a name that has come up in free agency. And since you brought up second base, look, let's just say it right now. We are Gavin Lux. We're penciling in as our second baseman. But
Kike could also play second base.
I wonder,
I'm
I wonder what you would think of this name because he's a free agent.
Kike? Mhm.
No, are you familiar with Han Sung Kim?
Yes, I am. Wasn't but he was playing shortstop.
But he could play second base. He,
Or do you move Mookie back over to second, even though we just said everyday shortstop? Do we pull another, "Okay, now you're gonna play second because 'cause we're gonna get Kim." I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna butcher his name, so I'm not even gonna try right now.
look, I mean, he was injured last year. In terms of a batting average, he kind of had a down year. From the look,
Defensively, though, how was he?
I always think he's good. He's not a superstar. I mean, if you look at his numbers, he doesn't really hit for average, but he had, I mean,
Mm,
in 2023, he had 17 home runs. Last year he was hurt and he had 11. I'm just saying he's a free agent. I haven't heard much of a market for him. I wonder if you could get him on your price, if you could get him cheap. If you could get him cheap, would you consider adding him, or do you just go with the guys that you have?
You keep Lux because Lux has a better batting average, better production, at least compared to last year. And he's already part of your team's chemistry.
Yeah, so I really do think that I think their roster's kind of set in stone, other than what's going to happen with Teoscar.
Oh, that's cute. Wait till they shake it up in like a week or two, and you're like, "What have
I
they
know,
done?"
and
Like
I know nothing.
your sense of safety and security is adorable.
Yeah. So, hey, do you wanna fill us in on the Shohei throwing program?
Yeah, I mean, it's basic information. He's basically restarted his throwing program after having arthroscopic surgery to repair that labrum tear in his non-throwing arm. So he had that on November 5th. They're saying he will not be ready to pitch by opening day, which is March 18th in Tokyo against the Cubs. But he will be ready to continue his role as DH. So they're just going to continue seeing how he progresses and see what happens.
So get ready, Yamamoto. You're pitching in Japan, bro. So
Right, right. Well, and
that
Glasnow he's also throwing now as well. So, and in the latest article I saw, it was a sprained right elbow, which, we heard different things since he went out. Right now it's
they're sticking with the sprained right elbow, huh?
yep. Yep, that's it for right now. So, we shall see how it plays out.
All right. So you guys want to see Amie get riled up? We're
Wait,
gonna
wait, but we forgot to announce Roki Sasaki did get posted on Tuesday. So,
yes.
that means that he's entered that 45-day window now, and so he can sign after January 15th. So start your 45-day countdown. What are we at? 40, 43?
And so now we're getting more and more the same story as the Dodgers handshake deal, and
Everybody mad if the Dodgers get him. Everybody not surprised if they get him. Surprised if he goes somewhere else. Let's just see where he signs, guys. Like, it's up to him.
I agree with you. I'll talk about that guy once we know,
Mhm.
because I just do not want to continue to feed this monster.
Well, and
Uh,
it doesn't matter until he signs anyway. All it is just speculation and, have fun, but what's he gonna do?
well, another piece of news that I think, before I piss you off, let's make you happy. Did you hear Dave Roberts won an award?
Oh, yeah, I did. I have that in my notes. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
You go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay, he won Baseball America's MLB Manager of the Year. So even though he didn't get the other one, he at least got this one.
Are you happy now?
I just acknowledge the guy did a good job for all the crap he's taken over the years. That's all I want for him. And
Yeah.
and you notice during the winter meetings, he had his lips zipped about Roki Sasaki.
Yes, he
So
did.
you can't teach an old dog new tricks
It was last year during the winter meetings that he set everything off, and like
about
he,
Shohei.
he got
Yeah.
sent to the principal's office and stuff like that. All right, now I'm gonna piss you off.
Hold
So,
on, let me turn I purposefully put this on a new page because
all right, so I'm gonna let you just get it off your chest and go off. But this whole thing, why don't you set it up first? This whole golden at bat idea, your thoughts?
well, maybe we start with your thoughts on this one. I'll set it up. You
Yeah.
go ahead. So essentially, our best buddy Manfred showed up on what is it? Puck's John Ormond. It's a podcast, and saying that there was a buzz at an owners meeting, and what if we created this golden at bat rule? And so it's essentially if a team could choose one at bat every game to send their best hitter to the plate, even if it's not his team. And so there are variations of it. Each team could potentially pick one at bat at any point in the game, but only once. Or each team could get one golden at bat per game, but only after the seventh inning or later. Or if the team was trailing or tied in the ninth or later than that, if it goes into extra innings, they could get a golden at bat. So I have all kinds of thoughts on this. They want to test it in the All-Star game potentially, but what did you think about it?
I have no problem with them doing it in the All-Star game.
Mhm.
Do it in the
Agree.
All-Star game.
Agree. It's an exhibition game.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do to drive up viewership and something like that, Go for it.
I don't like it for the regular season. I don't like it for the. I'm not going to sit here and say it's ridiculous, but it
I
does
will.
feel like
Hold on. It's ridiculous. Go on.
a gimmick to me.
It's
Uh,
very Savannah Bananas. They
yeah,
already have that. Go watch their exhibition games.
it feels like for
The
me
Globetrotters. What are we
yeah.
doing?
It feels like, all right, now if you make a basket with this, color shaped ball, it's worth 10 points. It's one of those things where I feel like, does he not have anybody by his side PR wise? Or is he one of those people that just has no inner monologue and will literally blurt out any idea that comes to his mind? Like this idea, Amy, was universally trashed. Like the only person that I saw that actually half-ass contemplated it was Tyler Glasnow of the Doyers.
I sent you that thing and I was like, "What is he thinking?"
Yeah, he's the only one. Everyone else wanted Manfredi drawn and quartered, for even bringing it up.
I don't even know that it's necessarily an inner monologue because that's like, "Oh, I probably shouldn't say this out loud." Like, he kicked this around and thought it was a good idea, whether he said it or not. This is something, like, he has slated, like, yes. There are so many other logistics that go into this that I'll get into in a second, but really, like, who and Joe Madden brought this up too. Who are they trying to serve with this? Like, are you trying to get casuals into the game? But if you're doing that, it's at the sacrifice of your actual viewership. Like, you don't wanna lose viewers to try to gain viewers because at that point, you may end up maybe breaking even, or you may end up losing more at that point because I don't wanna see this. This is not why I watch baseball. I watch it because I love this game and I think it's beautiful. Joe Madden also said, "Don't confuse change with progress." And I think that's something that Manfred really should adopt as his mantra because I think some of these changes, some of them as kind of a purist, I don't agree with all of them, but I understand that they are making the game move forward. This is just turning it into it's ridiculous. I'll even use a made up word, ridiculosity. To me, that's what it is. It potentially affects stats. It affects the batting order. Somebody brought up, well, what if that batter comes up for their golden at bat and then they bat next? They're on first. What are you gonna do? You're gonna bring them back to at bat? Like, it's the camaraderie, it's very anti-team because if every time I'm up to bat and I'm your, like, subpar like, I'm not Mendoza line, but I'm, like, middle grade player, and they bring you in to bat for me every time, while I understand it's to help us win, that's gonna grate on me. Like, when do I get to hit if they're bringing up Juan to bat every time? Like, "Michiro, sit down. I want my turn at I get paid too to be on this team." And then that's not even talking about, like, pitcher matchups. They still have to face 3 batters, so, like, if we're bringing in, like, righty, lefty, whatever, now you've messed that up, and it just takes away from the strategy. Like, what it's you're making a farce of the game. What are we doing?
I appreciate the Michiro reference.
That was for you and Siamese vodka.
We have not had a mention of Michiro, the Amazing Tales of Michiro. I think maybe it's time for
No,
an Amazing Tale of Michiro. No,
it's not.
uh, I think Joe Madden is right in the sense that this does feel like making a change for the sake of making a change.
Mhm,
It just feels like it's an unnatural change. Like the other parts, like the changes, like for me, the pitch clock is a natural change because I don't think we had this problem before. Before games were not as long as they are now. Why have games become longer, right? And so that needed to be corrected. I think in terms of the pace of play, I think it's always better if you're moving faster, like players are engaged defensively, I think it's better. It's better. This this goes along, I think, to the ghost rule in the extra innings, right? There's a
mhm.
lot of people that aren't happy about that,
I'm not a
and
fan. I think that's how if you can't capitalize on it, that's how you lose in extra like, at that point, just award it to the other team if you're not good at capitalizing on it. Like
yeah, I think Manfredi needs to be very careful here and just be very because the NBA is starting to have a problem, and that's where right now their product. You have a lot of fans. You're laughing at me, but there's a lot of fans that watch the NBA that are not watching it anymore because they just don't think the quality of basketball is very good anymore.
Well, I'm laughing because they actually the part of why he's doing this, he compared it to the NBA. And and to me, it's like one of the things is he wants to manufacture key moments. He sees this as a positive, and to me, I'm like, look at that moment that we had with Freddie Freeman hitting that grand slam in the World Series. Even some of the stuff that like Juan Soto did, Giancarlo Stanton, those moments, those are memorable moments. If you're manufacturing them with something like this, you're cheapening them, to me, in my opinion. Like, yes, the maybe more casual fans would love that because the game would be more exciting on a regular basis, but you see too many of it and you become desensitized to it. I don't want that to happen to the game. But also, if you're gonna make a change, do it for the All-Star game. Drive viewership there. It does not need to be in the regular games. And comparing it to the MLB when they are different games, Joe Madden kind of explained about that in that athletic article that Jason Stark wrote as well, and I agreed with it. They are two completely different games. You play them two different ways. The pace of play for baseball is so much slower. The strategy is different. It doesn't make it bad compared to the fast pace of basketball, but that's why you watch the two different sports differently. They're different games. Why are we trying to manufacture moments and cheapen it? I don't understand.
It's a little too XFL for me.
Mhm.
Is what it is. But I really think that I get it. He can multitask. He can do a lot of things here.
Can
But
he? Can he?
instead of focusing on this golden at bat rule, how about paying attention to these grievances? Amy, do you want to give us an update on this grievance story?
I will actually, but now that you bring that up, to me, my I made a note. He needs to fix the ABS system and fix the umpires stuff first. Fix that stuff in the game. That's what people are complaining about. Have, when you have your umpires in the World Series, have them be your top tier umps. Don't have them be the middle of the road. And let's try to fix the CBT stuff, which leads us into the MLB grievances. Um, Evan Drellich and Ken Rosenthal had an article in The Athletic on the 9th talking about we saw that Luis Severino just got signed on a $67 million contract with the A's. And some people were impressed by this. They were calling out that, try not to be impressed by them signing this. The A's actually need to add significant payroll or they risk a grievance. And so essentially what this comes down to is the CBA requires that teams carry payroll more than 1.5 times the amount they receive from local revenue sharing. A club violation doesn't automatically mean punishment. So if they don't have that amount of payroll, but it does put them at a greater risk for an MLB Players Association grievance. So this just means that the union can file a grievance anytime it believes a team is not using revenue share dollars in an effort to improve performance on the field. And that's per the CBA. And the burden of proof is on the union unless the team doesn't spend enough money, which goes back to all the conversations we were having on deferrals and people getting mad at the Dodgers. And it's like, no, it's even written into the CBA. Your teams need to put a quality product out on the field. So with that being said, the union actually filed a grievance in 2018 against the A's, the Marlins, the Pirates, and the Rays. It wasn't resolved during the collective bargaining, and it's supposed to be. It typically, I guess, gets resolved within those years. So it wasn't resolved in 2021 or 22. It's still pending, even though one of the teams has been removed. And in 2019, the MLBPA filed against the same teams again. So they could be fined if they lose this, but if we're going back to 2018 and 2019 and nothing's been done with these grievances, while it's great that the MLB Players Association can file them, what's actually being done to hold teams accountable? And if that's the case, now the A's do have to now spend another additional like 25 million to meet that threshold so that they don't get potentially another grievance, but they've already got two. So what are we doing? We have a system to alleviate this, but it feels like it's kind of getting gummed up in the works if these are still pending.
We have no independence, Amy. We are asking the guy, Manfredi, to hold these teams accountable, but he's hired by the owners. So
Oh, is that it? He's
he's
like,
going
I
to
don't want
hold
to
his
deal with that.
bosses. He's going to hold his bosses accountable? Is that what you're telling me?
He's like, you know what, guys? You just do your thing. I've got this idea about the golden at bat, and I've really got to go think about this right now.
No, but keep telling me that the Dodgers and the Metropolitans are the problem with baseball.
Right?
Here we are literally telling you that there are teams that are not spending enough money.
And still collecting from the pool.
And what's happening to that money, Amie, if they're not spending it? They're pocketing it.
I'm just gonna put it in my pocket, stick it in my bra, like wherever you store, put it under my hat. Like, what? How are they still getting to like? If there's a grievance in play, I feel like that should halt at least like 50% of the money you're allowed to pull from the pool.
Absolutely.
Pull from the pool.
That makes too much sense, Amie. It just makes too much sense.
Like, oh gosh, I've got a grievance, but hey, let's pocket the rest of this profit. Like, it's doing a disservice to the fans, and it's doing a disservice to the players on those teams. And, but hey, let's have a golden at bat rule. That'll drive up casual viewership. Let's not improve the actual teams so that fans are rewarded for their fandom and supporting those teams.
Look, as much as we like the fact that we're Dodger fans, or if you're a Yankee Metropolitan fan, it's always better if everybody. I think part of the reason why the NFL is as successful as it is because there is a chance, unless you're a Raiders fan, and by the way, save your comments. You can't hurt me. I'm a Raiders fan.
You and Philip Lopez.
There's a chance that your team might make the playoffs that year. The Raiders are just going to be terrible forever. But, there is an opportunity. And I think in baseball, that's what you want. You want every team to be competitive. You want those markets. That's how you're going to grow, right? And when you have a commissioner like this, I think that is absolutely ridiculous that these grievances were even filed and that they still haven't been addressed, that they decided we'll just ignore it, we'll deal with it later. And it's again, we're asking these people to police themselves, and that is never going to happen.
Right. But then so they're so concerned with fans leaving the game. The conversations that I have with people outside of being Dodgers fans, it is like, I don't watch baseball anymore. It's, it's not competitive. It's the same 2 teams every year, the same 4 teams. Well, the blame is getting put on the Dodgers, the Yankees, whoever. And that's not fair. It's these teams that are not actively putting that, what the CBA says, an effort to improve performance on the field. Why are we not putting the blame where it actually belongs on those teams that continue to draw from the pool, that continue to not put a high quality product on the field? They're the reason that it's not competitive. And if as an owner, as a millionaire, billionaire, you want to cry poverty, then sell your team, because it's not fair that the teams that are spending and putting that money back on the field are villainized when these other teams have every opportunity to do this. They're not being limited. Do some of them have smaller payrolls? Absolutely. Do we have an ownership group? Yes. That's not saying that you can't go combine, like, hey, me and my other millionaire, billionaire buddies, let's form our own investment group and let's do it this way. Nobody's stopping them. To my knowledge, there aren't rules that prevent that from happening. The only thing that's preventing a quality product being put on the field is the ownership.
Word
to your mom.
Word to your mother.
Sorry, both of these topics had me so the texts that I was sending Juan, I was just like, oh, I'm so heated right now. Manfred.
I felt the heat coming off the phone, ladies and gentlemen.
It was smoking. I know.
Hey, before we go to the next topic, though, since we're talking about money, I know The Athletic had a really good article explaining deferrals. Do you want to touch on that real quick before we?
I didn't prep that because I thought we weren't.
All right, never mind. Well, save that for some other time. Sorry, my bad, ladies and gentlemen.
It was just more of the same of kind of what we talked about last week. There was a really great article in there that went into more detail of how deferrals work. So if some people needed to be educated, it's a great article to read of like, this is why and this is how.
All right. So let's talk about Farhan Zaidi. So I don't know where I said this, but when Zaidi got fired, did I say it to you or maybe I said it to someone else? When he got let go, when he got promoted to
you said it on the show.
Okay.
If
When he
I'm assuming what you're about to say.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me credit. I appreciate it. When he got promoted to customer by the San Francisco Giants, I said he's going to end up with the Dodgers.
Mhm.
Because this is what they do. And sure enough, Amy, what's going on with Farhan and the Dodgers?
We're hearing talks that they're reaching out, they're talking to each other. He may potentially have a fit in the front office. Obviously, Gomes will still retain his position, but there's talks of him coming back and to mixed reviews. Some people are like, of course he is, and let's bring him back. He's probably got great like intel from the other side. I don't know if there's like NDA stuff of like can't discuss their, whatever proprietary team information. And then there's other people that are like, why would we want him back if the Giants fired him?
Look, I think there are things that he is drink, by the way, everybody. There are
I was
things
already picking it up.
my apologies to all the alcohol poisoning that I have provided on
No,
today's
no,
program.
no. This is how we hydrate. Water, people. Water.
Or for all the future bladder infections. There are things that I think he's probably very, very good at, and he excels. Being an overall baseball president of operations might have been too much for him, but at the same time, it's really about if you're not set up for success, and perhaps that ownership with the Giants is not the same thing as the ownership for the Doyers. I think, and this is what separates the Dodgers front office from everyone else, is you get people and then you find what they're really, really good at and you let them do that.
You mean like
So
Juan is really, really good at the announcements at the top of the show?
there you go. And that's why I do the announcements. So I would love to have him back. I don't think he's going to be back for long. I think it's going to be until he gets another job in a bigger position that he wants. But why wouldn't you want this guy's knowledge? The only reason why people probably don't want him back are the people that are in that organization that are in his fantasy league, because from what I hear, he kicks everyone's ass in fantasy football every year. So if the people that are talking negatively about Farhan, those are the people that don't want to lose to him in fantasy football anymore.
I think that was the asterisk at the bottom of the article. I think that's probably what it was.
But I think you would look. I think this is what the Dodgers are very good at. They add to the front office, and that's why you get people who think outside of the box and they come up with these creative solutions.
But not golden at bats.
Well, maybe he should get a job then with Major League Baseball. Maybe
He needs to keep Manfred in check.
Get some fresh blood in there, because it's like, look, we want baseball to succeed, and make it more better.
Well, and that's where we also see things where people don't think it makes sense at the time, and then it's like then it shakes out like, why did you sign Tommy Edman? He's injured. We're bringing him back. We don't know how he's going to play, and he ends up being your NLCS, MVP.
Yeah. Turns
Like
out
the pieces you didn't even know.
the nerds know what they're doing.
Yes, we do.
All right, so we're going to end the show with this. It turns out, ladies and gentlemen, that the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes are going to be playing their last year in Rancho Cucamonga. Amy, do you have that prepped, or do you want me to do it?
I mean, I do, but if you have something else you'd like to add.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. So if they will be moving, like Juan said, in the 2026 season to Ontario, and that is going to be preceded by Modesto is basically not going to have a team anymore after 2025. So
It's okay. They can just go up to Sacramento and see the Athletics play up there.
Oh my god, that still makes me cringe. Oh, God.
Look, I was born in Central California, so I know that Modesto area. Shots
and
up
I
to
lived
209.
up there.
Merced, baby. Merced in the house, 209.
Hey, 916, baby. 916. I grew up down here, but I lived up there for a while. My brother's still up there. So Modesto essentially isn't going to have a team after 2025. So the Dodgers will be moving from Rancho Cucamonga to Ontario. The Angels will be moving from San Bernardino to Rancho Cucamonga. And then the Mariners affiliate will be moving from Modesto to San Bernardino. So bummer, man.
It is a bummer, just because whenever, someone was on a rehab assignment, it was so easy to go to Rancho Cucamonga. And that's not to say that it's not going to be easy to go to Ontario to talk to these guys when they do their rehab assignments. But I don't know how long the Quakes have been in Rancho, the Dodgers minor. Does it say? Do you know how long they were playing there
Um,
for?
I don't know. I was trying to discreetly Google.
Okay, I will go ahead and do some witty banter to buy you some time. But I think this is the life of minor league baseball, right? In the sense that you can't take it for granted. Up and easy. All of a sudden, a minor league baseball team can disappear, like those poor people in Modesto who don't want to drive up to Oakland, or they don't want to drive up to San Francisco to see a baseball game. They could go and see a minor league baseball game. And Amy and I, we went to go see a game at Rancho Cucamonga
Mhm.
together. It wasn't under the greatest weather.
I
It was.
mean, you could have had a better rain slicker. I mean,
I could have. I could
hey,
have.
I think I kept one of your legs dry because mine bled over into your seat, so you're
Okay.
welcome.
I love wet jeans. The wet jean look. The wet jean look is
We
good.
were so soaked. But to your point, even when I was in Sacramento, initially the River Cats started out as an A's affiliate, and then they switched to the Giants, and it made it a lot harder to go to those games and support that team as the rival to ours. But it was great because the Dodgers would periodically come up there to play games, and I'd get to see the minor league affiliate.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. I mean, I think the Angels did that once too. There, it was either they were a Dodger affiliate and then became an Angels, but
They move around. So
yeah.
to answer your question, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes have been in Rancho Cucamonga since 1993.
Wow. So that's a significant number, ladies and gentlemen. 30 years. So
If Google AI can be believed, that was just the quick search.
So just wanted to give that information out there. Anything else you want to cover before we wrap things up, Amy?
Juan actually let me know that we have a new media person covering the MLB.com. Sonja Chen is coming down. She had fill-in duty for the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants for the last 3 seasons. So she will now be covering the Dodgers for MLB.com. So kudos, Juan, for I didn't realize that Juan Toribio had left.
Yes. So for those who aren't aware yet, Juan Toribio was the beat writer for MLB.com covering the Dodgers. And he had announced after the World Series, I think it was after the parade, he
I
had
think I
announced.
missed it. Honestly, I was yeah.
And you know what? Look, full disclosure here, Drank, thank you. Full disclosure here, Toribio, I know I have a relationship with Juan Toribio. Both Amy
Whoa,
and
a
I,
relationship.
in terms
Does
of the
does Wendy know?
In terms of Toribio and Toribio's, I will say this: Toribio's the only nice beat writer that gives me the time of day at
Same.
when I'm covering the game at Dodger Stadium.
He says hi to me.
Toribio he has been very kind to me when he didn't have to be. When I was in there not knowing what the hell I'm doing, covering a team, he would always help, and I always have great conversations talking with him. He loves basketball. He loves his Miami Dolphins, and he's from Florida. And so he's moving back to Florida, and that's the reason why he wasn't covering the team. But Toribio, I'm sad. I'm really bummed to see him go because I think he was great. And, a lot of these guys that were East Coasters are going back to the East Coast. Jorge
Jorge
Castillo.
Castillo. Yep.
Jorge Castillo, who was with the Times, was another great guy who, again, was very generous and kind to me. And I appreciate those guys. And I'm going to miss those guys, considering if I ever do go back to cover the Dodgers, I'm going to have no friends there. I'm going to have nobody to talk to.
Ouch. Wow. What am I, chopped liver?
Well, if you're there, you'll be my only lifeline. Other than that, I'm
Okay,
kinda on my
no
own.
coffee cake for you, buddy.
How dare you?
I will withhold.
Why are you so mean?
I'm gonna go make friends with Sonia.
You are so mean.
You forgot me.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying, you're not there every day.
I'm an afterthought.
No, you're not. You're not there every day. You
I'm
know
excited that we have another female writer and a cool new beat writer. So hopefully we'll get to meet her next season.
Exactly. Okay, so that's gonna do it for this episode. So again, for those of you, if this is your first time coming across this, Here we go.
Hi. Hello.
This is your homework assignment. You're probably completely drunk, or you really need to go to the bathroom right now because of the drinking game that we have here. But if you are listening to us on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word. All right. Tell other people, come join the party. This is a very relaxed environment. We're talking about all stuff here. They're talking about the Dodgers. We're talking about baseball. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging. Anything that we talked about, let us know your thoughts here. And
We
make sure.
do try to jump into the comments and get back to you guys.
That's right. We have the comments corner. If we don't reply to you directly, we will read your comments on the next show. And make sure you're following us on social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.